Excuse me, are you Adam Graham?
The very same. And this is my old-time radio snack wagon.
Welcome to the Old-Time Radio Snack Wagon, where we serve up a bite-sized portion of old-time radio. And now, here's your Snack Wagon host, Adam Graham.
Welcome to the Old-Time Radio Snack Wagon. Today's episode was inspired by a program I did on the great detectives of old-time radio a few months back, where a story clearly evoked the style of the great American newspaper columnist and writer Damon Runyon. Runyon was popular and influential during his life, but really enjoyed his highest popularity in the decade after his death. If most people know him at all today, it's because he wrote the short stories which served as the basis for the perennial musical favorite Guys and Dolls. Yet Runyon's work was far more substantial than that. He created a whole style of speech and writing. For decades after his death, movies and books would often feature these sort of Runyon-esque characters. You can hear Runyon's work on radio through the syndicated series, the Damon Runyon Theater, and also through adaptations of movies that were based on his work. But today we're bringing you an original radio story featuring two of Runyon's characters. Jole and Ethel Turp, Call Him the President, was a late 1939 film based on a Runyon story. The stars appeared on The Good News of 1940, one of the great hour-long variety programs of the late 30s and early 40s. The series was probably best known for popularizing Fanny Brice's Baby Snooks character. Now, from January 4th, 1940, we go to Edward Arnold, the host of Good News.
Millions of newspaper readers have been amused and entertained by Damon Runyon's famous characters, Jole and Ethel Turp, as they appear in his syndicated column, The Brighter Side. In a series of unique and original letters, Damon Runyon, in his own clever style, reveals the philosophies and antics of Joe and his unpredictable wife, Ethel. Recently, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer completed a picture starring Ann Sothern and William Gargan, based on these famous characters, and which is currently being shown at your favorite theater, entitled Joe and Ethel Turp Call on the President. Tonight, Maxwell House brings you these two unusual Brooklynites in an original sketch by Damon Runyon and adapted for radio by Brian J. Byrne, with Ann Sothern playing the part of Ethel and William Gargan as Joe. There goes the mailman's whistles, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, that's what it is. It's a letter from Joe Turp.
Dear Mr. Runyon, the other night I could not get home for dinner, so I headed downtown. And I telephoned my wife Ethel to meet me at the movies. When I got there, she was standing in the lobby of the theater, and three guys were standing around her. One of these here guys was dressed like a general, only with his hat off, and he turned out to be an usher. The other guy was the manager of the theater, and the third one was a guy that was built like Tony Coletto. And they was all having an argument. And I see that my wife Ethel was into it, so I walks up to her and I says, "Hello, baby, what's going on here?" And she turns around to me and she says,
"Oh, Joe, I'm so glad you came. I've been insulted."
"What? Who insulted you, baby?"
Now, wait a minute, lady.
This here happens to be my husband, Joe, and he's talking to me, not to you, mister.
But, lady,
Go ahead, honey, spill it. If somebody's going around insulting my wife, I want to know it. Now, what happened?
Well, Joe, I was sitting inside the picture show in front of this big lummox here, and he hit me on the shoulder.
He did?
Now, wait a minute, lady.
Go ahead, baby. I'm listening to you. You say this here guy took a punch at you?
He hit me right on the shoulder, Joe, and he says real rough like, "Take off that hat." I was so mad, but I just said real ladylike, "You mind your own business."
That's all you said? Huh.
You don't need to hum me, mister. I guess you won't be so fresh to a lady now that my husband Joe is here.
Go ahead, Ethel, baby. Tell me what happened.
Well, Joe, one word led to another. Then this here usher came down the aisle.
I had to, lady. You were all talking so loud the people couldn't hear the picture.
I'm listening to my wife, fella, if you don't mind. Go ahead, sweet.
So before I could tell this here usher that this here big lummox insulted me, why, he starts yelling for the manager. So the usher got the manager. And what do you suppose he said to me, Joe?
Now, lady, I only said
Butt out, mister. Just because you got a boiled shirt and a wedding suit on, you can't scare me. I'm talking to my husband.
Go ahead, baby. What did this manager say to you?
I just said she'd have to take her hat off or I'd give her her money back.
Why? That was just like putting me out of the theater. Imagine me, your wife, Joe, being put out of a dump like this.
This ain't no dump, lady. This here is a first-class theater.
If it was a first-class theater, you wouldn't have people like this big lummox hitting women on the shoulder and yelling at them to take their hats off.
Madam, I didn't shout at you. I just said, would you please take off your hat or scrunch down a bit so I could see something?
Joe, you can see for yourself that his voice is very insulting.
Let's take this out on the street, folks. My patrons inside can hear the argument.
All right, buddy, that suits us. Come on, baby.
I paid my good money to see that picture. How could I see it with that ice cream freezer she's got on her head stuck up in front of me?
Now, that goes to show what an ignorant man you are to call my hat an ice cream freezer.
Ethel, baby, what is it anyway? I ain't never seen that hat before.
Why, Joe, this is my new hat. It's a salad bowl. And it cost me $5 to have Patsy Moore copy it from a picture in Harper's Bazaar.
5 pieces of lettuce for that?
But, Joe, it's the latest thing out. Anyway, that's no reason why this big lummox should have insulted me.
Madam, all I said was, please remove your hat or scrunch down a bit. That's all I says, and I was not insulting. I was very polite.
That's right, mister. I heard it all.
Well, this is a fine how do you do. Everybody around here seems to be trying to make me out a liar. Joe, are you going to stand there and let them make me out a liar and not do anything about it? I told this big lummox you'd take care of him, and you will, won't you, Joe?
Now, wait a minute, Ethel. That hat you're wearing is pretty tall, and maybe I'd ask you to take it off, too, if I was sitting behind you in front of a picture.
Oh, Joe, you're taking other people's part against me.
No, I ain't, baby. I just said the hat's pretty tall.
Now, why don't you folks all shake hands and be good friends?
What? Me be friends with a man that calls my hat an ice cream freezer? Joe, don't you dare shake hands with these here people.
But what I want to know, Ethel, baby, is why couldn't you have taken your hat off?
She didn't even have to take her hat off, mister. All she had to do was scrunch down a bit and everything would have been all right. But she said she wouldn't scrunch down even for the president.
Well, of course I didn't really mean that. I certainly would have scrunched down for the president. But I bet he'd have asked me like a gentleman.
Baby, that is a pretty tall hat for anybody sitting behind you to see over.
But, Joe, this is my new hat, and it's the latest thing. It's a salad bowl, and nobody else in Brooklyn has one.
Ethel, sweets, I don't care what kind of a bowl it is. And if every skull in Brooklyn is trying to balance one of them, it's a pretty tall skimmer.
Oh, Joe, you don't like my hat?
Oh, that ain't it, honey pie. I just wonder where you dig 'em up. The last time it was a flower pot. And the time before that, it was a pillbox.
Oh, no, Joe, you're wrong. The last one was a Watteau sailor.
Well, it could have been a Greek Marine, so far as I'm concerned.
Mister, I'm half nuts from the hats that come into my theater and cause trouble like this one your wife's got on.
Oh, I wish I was dead. So nobody could insult me anymore.
Oh, Ethel, baby, don't cry. No. Now, you see what you done?
I ain't done nothing to nobody.
Oh, how about apologizing for insulting my wife, Ethel, here? We'll call the whole thing off.
I didn't insult anybody. All I said to your wife was, Madam, please remove your hat or scrunch down a bit. So I don't see why I should apologize to anybody.
Oh, a tough guy, hey?
Well, no, I don't claim to be no tough guy, but if anybody wants to make anything out of anything, they can.
Well, buddy, when it comes to talking about hats, I don't like that dicer you got on. It reminds me of one I saw a bum wearing the other day. I'll go further and say nothing but a bum would go around insulting ladies about their hats and making them cry.
Who you calling a bum?
I ain't looking through you, buddy. I'm looking right at you.
Well, I guess you're looking for it, mister.
Ow!
Knock him down, Joe. Knock him down.
Now, listen here, fellas. You're not going to get any place fighting.
Here's another from me to you, brother.
Ow!
Joe, why, he hit you right in the nose.
Don't worry, baby. I'm just starting.
Ow! You ain't stopping, mister. You're finished.
Get up, Joe. Get up. You'll ruin your suit.
What's going on here? Hey, what's this all about?
Officer, stop this. These guys are ruining my business.
All right, now, wait a minute. Hey, you. Are you going to get off of that sidewalk, or do you want me to bring you a pillow?
Well, all I can say, officer, is you just come in time. In another minute, I'd have brained this boob.
Yeah, I guess you were doing all right down there. Now, wasn't you, eh? Now, come on, you guys. What's this thing all about?
Well, I'll tell you, officer. It's about my wife's hat. This here
Your
guy...
wife's hat. Is this your wife right there?
Yeah, that's Ethel, my wife.
And that's the hat you're fighting about? Well, I tell you, fellas, it ain't worth it. Now, come on, go home. Get out of here, all of you. Go on, get home.
Okay, copper, don't push,
Yeah,
don't
come on,
push.
I'll push if I like.
This is a fine way to treat a man who's defending his wife's honor.
Come on now, bust it up, folks. The fight's over. Get out of here. Go on, get out of here. Go on, Noah.
Ethel, honey, it's a good thing that cop came along, or I'd have killed that guy.
You would, Joe? But how could you have done that laying there flat on your back?
Oh, I was just stalling, looking the situation over, that's all.
Gee, Joe, I wonder what the situation looked like from where you was. It sure looked funny from where I was.
Now, wait a minute, honey. If we're going to talk about anything funny, let's get back to that hat of yours.
Oh, Joe, I bet you don't like my hat. And it's a brand new salad bowl. I bought it just for you.
Well, I never did like salad. From now on, I won't even like the bowl. Well, just tell me one thing. If you didn't want to take your hat off, what was the harm in scrunching down like the big fella asked you?
Oh, Joe, you're silly. Don't you know why I didn't scrunch down?
No, Ethel, baby, but I'd sure like to know.
Why, Joe, if I'd have scrunched down, nobody could have seen my new hat.
Yours truly, Joe Turp.
Welcome back. An amusing sketch that builds up to a good, ironic punchline. Jole and Ethel Turp calling the president wouldn't be a huge success, but the stars would go on to have very successful careers. Ann Sothern played another Brooklynite character in the Maisie series of films, and that would also lead to a radio program. Gargan would go on to receive an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor for a film he made in 1940, and he would also have many successful roles, particularly in the detective genre. In film, he was probably best known for playing Ellery Queen. On television, it was Martin Caine, Private Eye, and on radio, he starred as Ross Dolan in Ideal in Crime, and of course, Barry Craig, Confidential Investigator. This will conclude our first season on the Old Time Radio Snack Wagon. We're going to get a tune-up, wash the snack wagon, and order up some fresh ingredients for our next season, which will begin in 5 weeks on February 12th. I want to thank everyone who left encouraging reviews and liked our podcast episodes, as well as for the great suggestions that we've received. I certainly welcome your feedback and suggestions for Season 2, and of course you can always listen to any of our past outings over at snackwagon.net. It's time for me to close up the old snack wagon, but don't worry, we'll be back with another serving of old-time radio goodness before you know it. If you want to enjoy some of our longer-form podcasts, you can feast away at my website at greatdetectives.net. Your emails are also welcome at adam@snackwagon.net.
The Old Time Radio Snack Wagon comes to you from Boise, Idaho. Your host is Adam Graham. Sound production is by Rhines Media, LLC. You can listen to past episodes of the Old Time Radio Snack Wagon as well as connect on social media at our website at snackwagon.net. Email suggestions for episodes to adam@snackwagon.net. This has been the Old Time Radio Snack Wagon.
Until next time, goodbye.